CEOs have all of the power, so why aren't you skipping your usual buyers and selling straight to them instead? Makes sense, right? But if you're going to sell to these company heads, you got to know a few things about this lucrative yet fragile sales opportunity. Not least of all, how to do it right. Hi, my name is Will and I make selling simple. Now, in today's video, we're going to be covering three separate things. The challenge of selling to CEOs and why CEOs and other C-suite executives are such a tough sell. Then we're going to hit the benefits. Are these guys worth it as potential prospects? And just a hint, they definitely are. And finally, we're going to get to the real meat, the root of the matter, the crux of it all, the how. Which selling strategies are going to be the most effective and what conversation starters can you use to perk up their ears and get the call back from these high performing, powerful buyers. We're going to cover it all and more today, so let's jump in and get started. Now, one of the biggest pain points I hear from my students over at Selling Made Simple Academy is about their sales leads. They complain their sales leads don't have budget, they don't have authority, or they lack the know-how needed to truly understand their product's value. Does this sound familiar? Well, it turns out that this problem is rife in most industries. A survey from HubSpot found that 1 out of 3 sales reps said that qualification is the biggest challenge, above closing, above meeting deadlines, and above, well, anything else. So if you want to skip all of the hassles of dealing with these low-level, pain-in-the-ass buyers, you need to do the opposite of what everyone else in the space is doing. You need to aim for the top. You need to aim for the CEO and the C-suite, the executive suite. These are the people with all of the power. These are the head honchos. And these are the ones who, if you know what you're doing, can make your job 10 times easier, way more profitable. Now, before we jump into the how and the why of selling to a CEO, let's first touch on the challenge. Now, because if selling to a CEO was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? So it makes sense that these individuals are tough to sell to in the first instance. And the first challenge of closing an executive is an obvious one. It's access. And this is hands down the hardest part of selling to a CEO. It's getting in front of them in the first place. When you're running a company, your time is valuable. And in all likelihood, you're probably not going to be directly involved with most buying processes. Sure, you might approve or veto things, but you're not going to be the one talking to the sales rep. But a clever sales professional will know how to circumvent this barrier and get the C-suite, the executives, interested. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about later on in this video, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But first, the other challenge to selling to CEOs is what we call the zero multiplier. Because with great power comes great responsibility. And if you really just bungle your conversations with a CEO, even just a tiny little bit, it's going to stop your deal dead in its tracks. That's why you've got to be incredibly strategic about how you approach these prospects, because even the tiniest, littlest of mistakes can ruin your chances of closing things in an instant. All right, so given these two challenges, access and the potential for a zero multiplier, why would you want to go through all of this pain, stress, and rigmarole in the first place? What are the benefits? So what do you think the biggest benefit is here? Well, most people tend to agree it's this idea of the instant close. Because just as a CEO can eviscerate your chances of closing a deal in a second, they can also seal the deal just as quickly. These are the major decision makers here. There's nowhere higher up to go after these individuals. So if you can get them, the boss of all bosses, on board, then man, dude, you are golden. You can say goodbye to those weeks, months, or even years, depending on the length of your typical sales cycle. Okay, benefit number 2 of dealing with the C-suite is what we call the influence effect. Now, winning over a CEO might take a little bit more work on your part, but once you've done it, once you've had that initial few conversations with them, everything else you say and do will have what's called the halo effect. Your words are going to hold more weight. Your opinions within the account are going to become more valuable. And everyone within the account, whether they like it or not, they're going to have to listen to you because the boss is listening to you. Hey, it pays, right, to have friends in high places. The final benefit of engaging with the C-suite first is what we call the trickle-down value. So when you're working directly with the decision maker in chief, you've got the opportunity to massively boost the value of your deals. Upsells, cross-sells, it's all going to be way more successful because They don't need to go back to their bosses and ask for more budget or authority. They don't have anyone to tell them no. They can do a deal size within reason, as large as they like. And for you, that of course means higher numbers and more lucrative commissions, which is why we're all here, right? So we've got the challenges, we've got the benefits. Now let's get into what you're obviously here for, the how. How the heck do you sell to a high power CEO? Well, first and foremost, you've got to lead with insights. Now, a CEO's attention is dramatically limited. And if you aren't pulling in these individuals right off the bat, they're going to be even less interested in continuing the conversation than a regular old buyer, some kind of middle management dweeb, right? That's why when you engage with the C-suite, immediately you've got to start raising some eyebrows with industry insights. But don't just rehash some LinkedIn thought leader. You need to give them content that they can't get anywhere else. You've got to be unique. What's an industry trend that you personally have seen that no one else is talking about? What's an under-the-radar disruptor that's just about to make serious waves? Where are things headed that no one else could predict? These are the type of things that get CEOs clicking on emails or attachments, whatever it is, or picking up the phone. And when you lead with these insights, you're going to be sure to get a foot in the door and the attention that you need to start the sales process with these head honchos. Okay, so the next how when we're dealing with the C-suite is to prioritize personalizing everything. Because look, you're not dealing with a list of 2,000 middle managers here. You're dealing with a handful within your industry, a handful, maybe even just 3 or 4 individuals that can make or break your sales quota for years and years to come. And using the same old crappy templated email that works, maybe it works, en masse isn't going to produce results with these prospects. That's why you've got to put in the work. Stop spamming people and really, and I mean really, take time to get these executives' attention. Write out targeted and relevant emails. Take the time to really point the prospect towards content that they're going to get a lot of value from, and spend more time crafting your communications so everything is directly related to them. There is no scale to this, right? You're only trying to get in front of a handful of people. Take the time to really get to know them, understand what their issues are, and make a hypothesis of how you can solve them. Of course, this is going to take longer than with regular prospects that you just spam out cold emails to. I know, I get it, right? But if you know what you're doing here, the benefits are way, way worth the effort. And finally, the most important thing that you need to do is really focus in on the issues. As you move through this sales cycle, you're going to have to pitch your tweak, your outreach, your demo, everything, absolutely everything to the issues of a CEO, which are not the same as the issues to your normal buyers. Maybe in the past, you've seen killer sales results with calls covering time savings and work-life balance and efficiency. But when you're talking to a CEO, these things are not going to be major concerns to them. They aren't the biggest pain points that they're trying to solve. And so if you focus on these low-level benefits with these executives, you're not going to drive any action and no attention. Instead, you need to hit the issues that these executives are wondering about. Is this investment going to affect the company's share price? Is it going to reduce their chances of litigation? Does your solution help them generate more cash flow and it keeps the business flexible in the turbulent business times that we're all working through right now? These are the points to hit in your communications. And these are the things that you've got to be focusing on. And when you start speaking the language of CEOs, you are way more likely, infinitely more likely to close a deal with them and earn that massive commissions that can come with it. So there you have it, selling to CEOs in just a few steps. We covered the challenge of selling to CEOs and executives. And remember, that's mainly the difficulty of getting access and the threat of zero multiplier or pissing off and pestering people that can kill your deal now and forever in an instant. Then we looked at the benefits, the instant close, the influence effect, the trickle-down value that can increase customer loyalty, boost cross-selling and promotions, and lead to massive overall purchase prices. And finally, we talked about the how, the fact that you need to lead with unique industry insights that the CEO can't get anywhere else. You need to personalize everything. And last, you've got to focus on the executive's issues, not the usual pain points that you might hit with your everyday buyers. And if you can do all of that, you're going to be well on your way to that sweet executive buy. Pretty cool, right? Well, if you enjoyed this video, why not click the video that's on the screen right now and continue making selling simple.